Welcome to Newbie Sports. We break down last weekend's games of football to see what I got right, what I got wrong, and what I missed. This is Newbie Sports. We're going to do something just a little bit different today. I'm going to show you some screen grabs from the ESPN app and some various other stats and podcasts that I've listened to, just to see if that adds something to this experience. Once again, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Or possibly share to your friends. I'd like to see who likes my takes, or who doesn't. And if you're one who doesn't, please leave a comment as to why. We'll start with my third ranked game that was not in the top 25, Cal at Virginia Tech. I picked Cal to win this one, but they did not. And I was also very wrong with the score. Yeah, Cal's done. Cal's not going to overcome this. I think their season is over. And, yeah, I laid an egg with this prediction. Next here is my second ranked game in the non-top 25 games. Utah defeats Colorado and defeats them by a lot. Look at all those scores. 43 points in the first half. This was a dominant showing from Utah. I picked Utah to win, but I didn't pick them by that much. What I thought was going to be the top game in the non-top 25 games, I laid an egg with this one too. I picked SMU to win. Wake Forest comes out on top. They had fewer points than I thought they were going to end up with, but they still come up with the win. SMU's going to have a little bit of a hard time overcoming this one, but their season's not over just yet. My post-mortem ranking of these games is Cal at Virginia Tech, ranked number 3, SMU at Wake Forest, ranked number 2, and Colorado at Utah, ranked number 1. On to our top 25 matchups. My rank number 5 was Baylor at Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati comes up with a win here with 41-20. I did pick Cincinnati to win, but that is a significantly larger margin than I expected. Good job, Bearcats. On to rank number 4, Texas A&M at LSU. Now, once again, I did pick Texas A&M to win this, but I did not expect it to win by this much. This is definitely going up in my rankings. 3 in my rankings for the top 25 matchups. BYU at Iowa State, and look at that point differential. I've never been happier about that before. That's a great point differential right there. BYU comes out on top of Iowa State to keep their 8-0 streak alive. I broke down this game in a different video. I'll leave the link to that in the description. Getting the win here, but doing so a little shakily. And my condolences to the Missouri Tigers. The quarterback injury is going to be hard to overcome. But good on the win for the Vanderbilt Commodores. I picked them to win. I also got the point differential incorrect. Now on to the game that I thought was the biggest ranked matchup of the week. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. I picked Ole Miss to win 34. But Oklahoma got 26. I only picked them to have 24 points. So, I got the win with Ole Miss, but I didn't get the point differential correct. The only thing that I think that I'd switch up for this is I think I'd put Vanderbilt at 4, and then I think I'd put LSU and Texas A&M at 2. So I would have 5 be the Cincinnati game, I'd have 4 be the Vanderbilt-Missouri game, I'd have 3 be the BYU-Iowa State game, 2 be Texas A&M at LSU, and then 1 would still be Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Now, there's always going to be something that I'm going to miss, and I'm going to talk about 2 of them today. One of them is going to be Alabama at South Carolina. Now, South Carolina's got the ball after Alabama tied the score up. South Carolina's got the opportunity to kick a field goal to win, but then disaster strikes with a fumble. Alabama then scores a touchdown, and the South Carolina Gamecocks are not able to conclude the game with a tie. So the Tide come up with the win, 29-22. Another matchup that I wasn't quite expecting to be as intense as it was Texas versus Mississippi State. Goes along fairly even, and then Mississippi State starts to pull away. And then, in the fourth quarter, they have a 14-point deficit. And then they start marching back. And they end up tying the game. And Texas end up winning it in overtime with a Mississippi State fumble. Now, I was going to break down the conference standings next. I think I'll start doing that once we have the college football playoff rankings. I will talk about the last AP poll before we start getting the college football playoff rankings next Tuesday, though. And I really would only make two adjustments. One, I would have BYU at 10 and Miami at 11. Ties are lame. We got to get rid of this tie stuff. Ties are lame. The other thing that we would do is I think I would have Navy at 25 and Memphis just outside the top 25. Navy is the last undefeated Group of 5 team. I think that they should get some love for that. I understand some rationality why they might not be ranked. They do have some fairly significant games coming up, and there might be anticipation that there's no way that they're going to win those games. I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to an undefeated team, but we'll see what happens in the subsequent weeks. Alrighty then, to wrap up this video, I am going to talk about a new segment on my show called Newbie's Hot Takes. And Newbie's Hot Takes is where I have noticed something that I don't think very many people are addressing, or no one's addressing. That I'm like, am I the only one seeing this? Is this actually important? Is there more going on to what I'm seeing? So, here's my take. And it's fitting that the first one in this series is about my team's rivalry, the University of Utah. One of the commentator channels that I follow is called Locked On Big 12. And Locked On Big 12 pulled up this meme today. This meme says, "Say what you want, Utah saved this conference. Utah has brought Big Noon to this state twice, and now College Game Day is coming. Big 12 relevancy rests on our shoulders." Now, this is clearly ridiculous, as is verified by the 109 likes to 157 comments. So ratioed pretty strong, but the top comment on this post was, "I want to like Utah, but their fans are generally the least aware group of people I've ever encountered." And the comments to this post got 360 likes. 3 times as many as the poster. And then there's the other comment down below. "I expect other fan bases to be dumb and stuff, but I usually expect you guys to be smart. I will stop holding these expectations." A few stats that I'd like to point out. Starting with, each of these 3 games that Utah brought big media people to, Utah's opponent was ranked higher than them. Texas Tech was ranked higher than Utah when Texas beat Utah at home. BYU was ranked higher than Utah when Utah failed to defeat them at BYU. Coming into Utah again, the Bearcats are ranked higher than Utah. Now, I do think Utah's going to win that game. I'll give you my prediction to that later this week. But each of these games, Utah's opponent was ranked higher than them. So to say that Utah is bringing in the big media people and it saved the Big 12, no. Just no. It is incredibly disrespectful to your opponent and to the rest of the conference. But hey, your athletic director did enough of that last year. Last snide remark about that this week. So, Utah was not the only contributing factor to big media days coming in. This week, what other game would be covered? Vanderbilt at Texas? Oklahoma at Tennessee? Now, those are big games, don't get me wrong. Cincinnati, undefeated in the Big 12, coming into Utah to keep that streak alive and possibly go to the Big 12 championship game when they were the first Group of 5 team to go to the playoffs and now are at the top of a Power 4 conference, seems a bigger story to me. And it's not about Utah. It's about the Bearcats. Utah plays a role in this. Utah played a role in each of these games. Utah isn't the reason the big media are coming. big media don't come to games where only one team is good. Big media come to games that they expect to be good games. And that means that both teams are going to be good teams. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that Utah has 2 home wins against Big 12 teams total. They've been in the conference for a year and a half, and they have 2 home wins total. You want to know how fast it took BYU to get 2 home wins? 2 games. And you want to know who it was against? One of them was Texas Tech, ironically enough. So, Utah has lost to BYU while both teams are in the Big 12 the same amount of times that they have won games at home against Big 12 teams ever. While being in the Big 12, I should say. And Utah's win streak, BYU's win streak against Utah is 3. So Utah has 1 more loss against BYU than they do home wins against Big 12 teams in the Big 12. I'm not seeing the Utah's favored to win, Utah's favored to win. Now here's another thing that should be pointed out. The University of Utah in 2008 went 13-0. This is possibly the best season they've ever had, and this was robbery. They should have been able to go to the national championship game. I even think so as a BYU fan. They were undefeated. There was only one other undefeated team. The 2 undefeated teams should have hashed it out for the national championship game, leaving the last undefeated team in the country. That's not what happened. They should have gone to the national championship game. But the Utes, every single season since then, have posted no fewer than 3 losses. 3 losses or more every single season since that fateful undefeated season. That is, of course, every year except 2020, when they only played 5 games total anyways. And since then, the pattern has continued until last season. Last thing that I want to point out for my Utah fans. While Utah has been in the same conference as BYU, Kyle Whittingham's record is 3-5. So all of those wins that Utah fans had lorded over BYU fans for years, most of those were from when you were in the Pac-12, a Power 5 conference. BYU was independent, and you had a significantly larger amount of recruiting power, a larger amount of assets, and all that kinds of stuff. Now, BYU had ESPN media coverage and all that stuff, and BYU has a very national brand. That is true. They weren't part of a Power 5 conference. Utah was. That plays a role in this, too. While Utah and BYU have been on equal footing, Kyle has a losing record against BYU. I am very annoyed when our national media people just jump to Utah as favored to win. Favored to win. And while I'm wrapping it up, Pac-12 wasn't that great either. They won the Pac-12 twice. Yes. Neither of those Pac-12 wins got them into the playoff. And then, both of those times, they lost the Rose Bowl. This is the reality of the situation. Utah hasn't done it. Utah hasn't gotten to the big stage. The top dogs don't do what we've just outlined. The top dogs don't lose to their rival 3 times in a row and then end up in a situation where they have fewer home wins in their conference against conference opponents than their rival has a win streak against them. Those are my hot takes. This has been Newbie's Hot Takes, and this has been Newbie Sports.